today I'm here with Scarab.
Hey, what is going on? I'm so glad to be back with you once again. We had some really wonderful talks in the past, and I'm sure this is going to be another one. And yeah, just love checking in on you guys, and hope that everyone's doing well.
Yes, we've got a bit of a public friendship, but it's always nice having a hangout with you, Scarab.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Yes, just been hanging out and doing my thing over here, as you know, in the US, but I've been, like we were talking about right before the show, been sort of paying attention to a lot of things that are going on around the world. I see that there is an uptick in some of the strangeness that's happening out there, especially with all things related to the how I want to say it
And you know
without getting
something?
you in
I
trouble.
realised you've got a Scarab. A Scarab.
Hmm.
You've got a Scarab in your logo. Scarab.
I do, I do, and you know that Scarab logo. There's a whole story to that. And honestly, for whatever reason, I used to like sports cars, and there was a Japanese car, and it was called a Z car, and it was made by Nissan Datsun. And then a guy took that car and he made these special models of those cars back in the 70s, and they were called Scarab, Z cars. And oddly enough, this is a true story. I started my own business. Well, that business went out of, it went out. It ceased to exist about 20 years before I started my business. So when I did start it, I used the name. I said, I'll always love that name Scarab for some reason. And, I didn't even know much about the symbology to it all. And then I found out that it was, before I started the business, I knew a little bit more at that point. I found out that it was the symbol for rebirth. And I thought, that's cool. So I'll call my company Scarab Performance. That's my name, Automotive Rebirth. And that's what I used to do. And I used to work on cars, and I used to, fix them up and stuff. And so that's how I came up with a name, not even thinking about, the deeper meanings to all that, Egyptian ideology and, those type of symbols. I had no idea that how it related to our world and everything else. So I've gotten a little, that I've had people in the past, oh my gosh, you've got that beetle logo, that scarab, and and I've heard all kinds of things, and like, honestly, I get it, but at this point in the game, I've already created the channel and made my name with it. It'd be really hard pressed to change it now, so I just keep it because it's not like I worship the thing or anything like that. It's just Scarab Performance. It's the name to me. So there it is. That is the truth behind it. But yeah, a lot of stuff is going on with all the symbols like you were talking about in our pre-chat, our pre online session here. You were mentioning, like, you were saying something about the phoenix and the
Yeah.
eagles and stuff everywhere. The eagles always are birds are represented in some fashion in a lot of very powerful nations. So that's an interesting concept. And what were you saying about the eagle itself? You said you noticed it in different spots.
Yes, I noticed it in the American flag. I noticed it in Russia. I noticed it all over most of the countries.
Mm. Yes, and you know, and you asked me. You said, "This might be a shock to you," and I was like, "Yeah, it was a shock about 15 years ago when I
I'm a
was
bit of a late starter
starting to
now,
wake
aren't
up." Yeah, you start off, and as a boy growing up here and standing up and saying the pledge of allegiance, and singing the Star Spangled Banner at every, when you go to a sporting event, and being very proud, thought I was very proud of my country, thought that we were the greatest nation in the world, and thought we did everything right. Just really blinded to the fact that of all the corruption that's truly around us, because I think that the media really hasn't given it to us
you?
straight
No, it's like we're living in something completely
forever.
different.
So
We're living in something completely
yeah,
different.
well, it really broke my heart when I saw 9/11, and I realized at that point, like, I was like, oh my gosh, man. I was like, we're going to war for the wrong reasons. We're, you know, something happened with those buildings, and I don't quite understand what happened, but you know, it's just like my whole reality came crashing down. My patriotic reality that I lived in is this bubble that I was a part of, and that was really hard. I'm going to tell you, like, that was, I've said this in the past to other people, and it was like, oh my God, what do I, you know, this is going to be very difficult.
It's not even that, because you're talking about something that you felt very patriotic about. But the way they program you, you know, you've got like football, whether you like
Yeah,
this team or that team, and those teams or the politics that you liked that had a color, red,
sure.
blue, and it goes through all this, and you've got to let go of all of it.
It's all to trick the mind into adhering your spiritual sense to symbology. So what you do is you know, when you see a flag, you see the flag, you get all goo goo gaga over the flag because, you know, you've been programmed to believe all this stuff growing up about how to be patriotic and all this sort of stuff. And I was, you know, I was going to join the military and go fight for my country, you know, and I was pulled aside by one military veteran. He said, you need to sit this one out. And I didn't understand what he meant, but I would have went to Gulf War One, and I would have been attacking Iraq and probably come back with some Gulf War syndrome or something like that.
It's
I'm
like
telling
we're
you,
in
I
a
was gonna
computer
go as a
game,
Marine. I was gonna join the Marines.
Scarab.
So,
It's like we're in a computer game, isn't it?
oh
Because
my
obviously
God,
you're into the Mandela effect as well, and you told me one before we came on. Now words have changed, so
the
it's like
word.
our whole reality keeps changing like this, and things that weren't there are there now. Like there's
Mhm.
thousands and thousands of star forts. You know, there wasn't any a few years ago. Now there's loads of them.
They're
You know,
everywhere. No, I
yeah,
mean, we are living in
things
a,
keep popping up.
yeah, and I know a lot of people say, because it's like I said to everybody, we don't really have the vocabulary to describe what we're experiencing, because I don't believe that, maybe for who knows, I mean, maybe this is a cycle that has been talked about in the past and it's been scrubbed in ancient books. But my point is that there's really no vocabulary to explain it. But then again, the vocabulary started to match what we were seeing. Like, that's why we were told in the Bible, it talked about the womb, and the womb became the matrix and things like that. Like, wait a minute, that's a pretty interesting word. I don't even think I remember that since like the late 90s hearing, because of the movie Matrix. So it was like a new word almost to everybody, but yet it's in the Bible, you know? And so before, everybody would have told you, yeah, it was womb. It was definitely womb. But you know, that's changed. So it's like the wording is starting to match up with what we're experiencing now in the Bible. And you know, I keep a good close tab on that, because things are changing all the time in that book. And like I told people, don't be afraid of the changes that you see in the Bible. What you have to do is experience the change and take from it what the new meaning implies today. And so that's what I've done. Like I was telling you earlier, Jesus once said that for my people perish for lack of knowledge. Everyone has heard, for my people perish, but it no longer says that. It says for my people are destroyed. So that's just a little snippet of the stuff that I'm sure we'll cover today.
Hmm.
Yeah. So speaking of perishing, I mean, my God, our world is being flipped upside down.
Hmm.
I just saw in last night's show on my channel, Nobleness D posted that in Indonesia, in the water, as you know, like as the water was coming up to the shoreline, the water, like you couldn't see it, but there was flames coming up out of the water.
Ooh.
Like yeah, like as the waves came in, as the waves started to crest, flames were coming out of the water. I'm like, how is that even possible? What ignited them? What's keeping them burning underneath the water? What is happening here? And why are they on fire? And then there was another fire that happened off an oil platform right there in the middle of the Gulf. I think it was I want to say it was in, I want to say Gulf of Mexico, maybe. But like, it was like this huge portal that opened up in the middle of the ocean. Like, there are so many weird supernatural events that seem to be taking place. I say supernatural because honestly, I've never in my life seen this stuff at all. And of course, on top of that, you have a lot more sightings with, you know, UFOs and whatnot. And then you have all the stuff that's happening right here on the surface level, which is, you know, more lockdowns that are coming down soon. That are going to be going, I think, global pretty soon. I mean, we're starting to hear, rumblings about this new strain that's supposed to be, way worse than the first one. And I really think that that's what they want to do. They want people to get on board with that, and they're going to blame. Then I told people 6 months ago, I said, listen, what's going to happen? I said, this is going to be a round two. Okay. I promise you, this isn't going away, because they've gone all in on this. Now, I said, what they're going to do in round two is they're going to blame the people who didn't take a shot. And they're going to say that we missed our window of opportunity because there were so many people spreading, quote, disinformation. And so we need to lock down who can say what on social media. We need to have passports to see if you've been properly inoculated, and and check you out, and so that you can go go to the store or get on a train or
What does it
whatever.
sound like? It's the thing with the Holy Roman Empire thing.
What's that now?
It's all about the eagles.
Well, it's always been like, so America was, a lot of people say, and this is what's weird, is that when you look at the symbolism of Washington and how it's all laid out by the Masonic symbolism that we see, and you see like the strangeness that like I talked about this, oh my God. So something came to me the other day, and this is really weird. And I shared this on my show once or twice, but I'll share it with you guys tonight, okay? So something made me look at the Washington Monument. So I'm looking at the Washington Monument, and it's, an obelisk, right? But when you look at it from the air, and I never noticed this before, and I don't know if it's brand new or what, but apparently it's been there for about, I would say, 10 to 15 years. But there is a Vesica Pisces symbol, okay? So the beam is right in the center of the eye. And immediately I went, oh my God, that's just like what Jesus said. Jesus said, remove the beam out of your own eye, right, before judging others. And I thought to myself, oh my God, it's crazy. Like there's all this like symbolism, and there's a Vesica Pisces. And then I started looking more into the Vesica Pisces symbol, and I said, oh Lord, this isn't the Mandela effect. Sorry, my doggy's going crazy. I said, this isn't Mandela. This is the Mandorla effect. Because in the center of the Vesica Pisces, excuse me, in the center of the Vesica Pisces is called the Mandorla. And the Mandorla, in my opinion, when you got the Vesica Pisces, each one is a separate consciousness, reality, okay? And it shows a merging of those two, right? And we start to see all the Vesica Pisces symbolism in the logos that we have, like Bloomingdale's and tons of other Fortune 500 companies. They have the Vesica Pisces. They use it all the time. MasterCard, another one I can just think of at the top of my head. But what I'm trying to get at is that merging that's happening, and we're starting to see it with the logos, is, to me, that's why we're in the center. If you're Mandorla affected, you're in the center of that eye right now. And I believe that it's the separate, like what's happening is there's a merging of a coming together, and there's going to be a separation at some point. And a lot of people talk about the new earth and the 5G, and Dolores Cannon spoke of this, thing happening. Maybe she's right, because I had a dream once when I was, before I went to bed, I was praying, and I asked God, and I said, I really want some insight about what I'm experiencing with the Mandela effect. What, just whatever. I always pray for insight and wisdom, so that the things that I say resonate with people. And I don't, I'm just like a regular person. I just want to know the truth. And I'm just trying to, I just want us to be in a better place, all of us. And so I prayed, and then I had this weird dream, and the dream was two like bubbles attached together, kind of like the the Vesica Pisces. Sorry, I keep losing my voice. And so I, just thought that was very strange, that was the image I got, and to me, it felt like two worlds coming together and merging. And that's what we're seeing a lot of times, right? I mean, if you want to talk about people saying that we live on multiple timelines or whatever, I don't care what you call that, those two circles. A lot of people represent the earthly realm as the mother, and those are two mother.
Yeah,
I don't
both
know.
of them. So you could almost say that it's all
Yeah.
happening at once because it's all coming forward with the star forts, the pyramids, the
Well,
Tartarian buildings. It's like,
sure.
no, it's all coming at us. It wasn't there, and then maybe it
So
was all there, but it's now all there, and there's more of it. And
so that's reality, right?
we need to dig down, and some buildings are on top of other buildings. It's all a bit
So it
crazy.
appears that's why we get this Mandorla effect, because you have one reality that had star forts, or maybe a lot of them, and another that, because I don't ever in my life remember seeing this stuff at all. But as there's this merging happening, okay, that there seems to be a crossover in certain things, or and that's why we even have flip-flops. We have things that are one way, one day, and for like a month, they might be the same for that month, and then they go back to their original memory, or at least our original memory of what they were. I mean, this has been proven over and over again that this flip-flop thing happens. So, I think things move in and out, and I don't know how it all works on those levels. That's it's above my pay grade, because we're talking about the greater forces that are work around us at all times, working in this magnitude. And I can't, really put my finger on it. I mean, a lot of people say, well, this is just, this is part of God's plan. And that's where I kind of have to leave it, because let's be honest. I mean, some of the stuff that we've experienced Mandela wise, I mean, if you have a distinct, I don't care what it might be, it could be anything, but if you've experienced this, it's probably some of the strangest stuff you've ever experienced. I mean, it's absolutely bizarre, and we're catching new stuff all the time. And some of it seems very trivial, I will say, like, some of it that like, well, but it just explains the fact that it seems to be a reality where things are different than the other reality. And this merging that apparently happening, the people that are in the between can see. Okay. And like I said, I think that the people that can see, there's very few of us. For whatever reason, we're in the middle of the eye right now. And I don't know. Maybe I think those people that are Mandela affected, part of my belief system is, from my own walk in life, is that we are experiencing this, okay, because we're getting a firsthand look at God's handiwork, number one. And number two, I think it's given us an opportunity to decide what world we want. Because I do believe that there's about to be a separation, in my opinion, like a wheat, like they talk about in the Bible, the separation of wheat and tares. And I think that there's going to be a separation. And even Dolores Cannon talked about this. And I'm telling you, I think that girl was onto something. I don't know where, she got her information with, doing a lot of, uh, what they call it, QHH, or what was that called? But where she would, put people under hypnosis,
Mm.
and, and learn about this
Correct. Yeah.
information. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I can't remember what she had, a special process that she called it something. But like, my point is that, look, I'm trying to bring people to an understanding. Like, I am not here to tell people that you have to believe in the Bible, and you have to believe, or you have to, believe in new age stuff. I think that it's all sort of, it's all related, honestly. And, maybe I would probably anger like people who heard me and say, oh my gosh, Dan, no, you can't believe it. Listen, it's not that I believe in it. It's what I've experienced, what I see, and what I can, properly understand. And given everything, given the whole body of work, you have to go outside just normal mainstream Christianity to understand the rest of it. Okay, because that stuff, they wanted you just focused on one thing. And maybe, maybe I would have a more balanced, more less stressful life, just being a solid guy who read his Bible every day and just believed every word. And I'd be like, you know what, that's it, that's all I need to know. You know what? I bet you there's a lot of people that are just super happy like that. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people. I just can't do that, because I ask questions. And when I read the Bible and there was something that just didn't jive, or there's more I knew that was out there, then you go looking for it. And people give you the old water that, well, that's just the way. No, there's more going on here. Okay. Our ancient past is not what we've been told. Our history is not what it's been told. It's totally been hidden from us. I believe that, there's something going on here with the mud flood stuff. I think there's something going on with Tartaria. There is buildings that I see that they destroyed by using these world fairs, and they would go out there and there would be these amazing buildings. I mean, so ornate, so beautiful, and they just destroy them.
Well, they
And I'm
got
like,
rid of San Francisco.
yeah, oh yeah, Chicago and San
But I
Francisco.
think that's because they were Mexican. That's why.
No, no, no. I think they were built. So what I'm saying is, it almost seems like a Westworld. Did you ever see Westworld?
A little bit, but
Okay.
I haven't watched
Well, there
that.
was this, like, it was like a movie set, right? They set it up to be like the controllers, basically the people, that, okay, so you had the normal humans. They were like normal humans, but they would set it up for the AI robots who looked human to be in the set, and they didn't quite know what they were, and they would just go in and they would change things. They would act like gods. They would just, change the movie set. And I feel like that's what goes on. I almost feel like it almost seems like we're on some sort of cycle, and we're told, oh, don't you worry, this place is, billions of years old, totally, but humanity is another whatever, 100,000 years old. Don't worry, just trust us. And then when we start looking at this evidence, things don't match up. It just doesn't match up that like 4,000 years ago, someone took a chisel and carved in the entire mountain and carved out a palace. It doesn't make any sense. Like, no. And then it didn't mess up at one. All the pillars are beautiful. Like, this is crazy shit. We're seeing all this stuff, and it doesn't make anything. The pyramids of Egypt, all this other stuff. And then you start seeing all, like, okay, this seems like either it was literally created for us to find it, to explore it and examine it and maybe help wake us up, or it's part of an old movie set that they just never could tear down. I don't even know. But it does seem like
Yeah.
we're part of some sort of Westworld world where, there is something else working here, and some people, if you go to the biblical side of things, it's Satan's world. That's what we're told. We're told Satan runs this place, and that we're all part of this deception, and that's our goal, is to wake up through it. Is to go through this life, and you have free will to choose the light or dark path. Choose the black or white, like the Masonic checkerboard. You it's up to you. And this is the free will that you have. And it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be scary so that it'll be more real. Because if it wasn't the way it was, I don't know if the world would be that interesting. And I think that energy that drives the thirst for the quest for knowledge, the quest to be loved, everything, all the human emotions, that's what makes it so real, doesn't it?
Yes.
And I would just say that I just think that there's, and like I throw out a bunch of different concepts and ideas, like, Westworld could just be, a multiple realities and dimensions, and, all of that. You can pretty much, equates everything I'm saying to some sort of, idea regarding what this could be. And I will tell you this, though, it has come to my honest belief that we are here for a purpose. And I think there's some people that are spiritually on one level, and it just may be, okay, a situation where we all have to go through this incarnation, or different incarnations of this reality, to sort of get to a point where we're ready to move forward spiritually. Because it's really hard to imagine that everybody that's born here is ready to accept the knowledge that's out there. There's a lot of people, as you know, that do not accept it. They just turn away from it. They're not ready. They want to live
I think one
a
of the hardest
more,
things for those people is that some
yes.
people think, well, I wouldn't treat anybody like that, so why would they do it to us? They just don't get it, because they're in their world, they wouldn't treat other people like that, so then they believe what's being told.
Mm. And a lot of
They
people
put
can't
their
believe
trust,
they
they
can't,
put their
they, well,
trust in it. They put their
right.
trust in the system.
There's some people that accept the darker things of life as an aphrodisiac. So they get into, more demonic things. And then some people choose to walk different paths. Some people choose to be, I'm going to be a police officer because I want to make a difference, or I want to, there's some people that, still have those belief systems. But the truth is though, is that I don't think people understand like how true evil can be. A lot of people think that, oh no, it's the world's, not really evil. It's just us that make it evil. And if we don't focus, if we look away from it and we don't pay it any attention, we can change the world because we can positively think of another place and it'll just happen. Well, I wish that were the case. I don't know if that is necessarily true. There's a lot of people out there, and a lot of people are thinking on that level. They're thinking of and it comes with it comes with a lot of stipulations. I mean, it had to be a person who's just totally uh, uh, grounded in the material world. You know, that knows that is just lying to everybody, right? Just to get over on them and steal their money and all that kind of stuff. There's just tons of like people like that are out there. And then there's good people who give freely, you know, who see this world now and see the material world as just being, well, this is just a pass through. I see myself as something different. And when I realized that we could be something different, all of us, is the moment I realized when I was sitting outside and I said to myself, you know, imagine what you were, okay? Imagine what you were. Think about this for a second. Just so you just close your eyes and you would just think, okay, what was I before I was me? Who was I? What was I? And I swear, like, I mean, it was like the ground dropped out from under me. Like I was suspended, like in like an absolute kind of nothingness. The world, like the physical world, ceased to exist for a split second. And at that point, I realized that, yeah, that's the truth, isn't it? It's like all of this physical world is made up for us so that we can experience it. And one day somebody said to me, they're like, Dan, well, they're like, so why does God put us through this? Why would God do this? Put us, make us go through all these hard times and everything else. And I was like, well, because we have free will. And this was just my just normal answer. I just answered this like it just came right out. And I said, in my opinion, through my heart, I would say that the reason we have to go through this, okay, is to understand the true greatness of God. Because if we didn't, we wouldn't understand. I mean, if we didn't have any hardships in our life, and if we didn't have any struggles, you really wouldn't need to ask God for help. And that's the thing, right? So when you're super rich and you got everything you want, you got all the women you want, you got the house, the car, is God really in your life? No. You only truly ask for God when the darkness comes. You know what I'm saying? When you start to break down of this matrix reality and you start to ask yourself, what is all this? That's when you start to reach out and look for something higher. And please, God, reach out to me, help me. That's when it happens. So while it's happening to you, remember, if you feel like you've been getting your butt kicked for a while, understand that only the true only the people that have been through that type of life or that type of turmoil in their life are truly the ones that are going to be closer to God than a person who is wealthy and has it all. That person right there is probably doing all kinds of things to make sure he keeps his wealth, including all. I could name a bunch. I mean, these people do all kinds of. They murder each other. Um, they steal from each other. They lie. They commit terrible crimes, and all this what to make sure that they keep their stuff. Do you realize that when you die, none of this is going with you?
Yeah, none of
So
the bills.
no, none of it's going with you. So why do you care so much about holding on to something that isn't going to exist when you pass on. And that's where I say that that's why I think those people get connected here. And that's why I think they come back to live again, to live another life. I think that's why I think like this system uh, reanimates itself and you get reincarnated back in it. And I think that you have to live it out again until you figured it out. I think you do. I'm not saying I know for 100% sure, but one and done just never sat right with me. I'm sorry. I just
Why
cannot
have we
believe.
been sent here then?
What's that?
Why have we been sent here then?
Well, so my feeling is that we had a few incarnations here. Like this isn't your first rodeo. You obviously lived before. You did something else. And through those incarnations, you learn a little bit more every time. You take a piece with you and when you come back. You come, it's like when you meet a child, right? And if you ever met a child who's an old soul, they're different than the other kids. They look different. They have just their awareness, their abilities. Some children can, they're born with like an ability to sing and
I
do all
think
kinds
I
of things.
think a lot of
Like when you
children
see
have it,
that,
right?
what's
Yeah,
that?
I think a lot of children have it, even my own little grandchildren, and
Well,
it'll stay with them until the school systems kind of beats it out of them.
Well, now I would say that we would all progress faster if we weren't being force fed the propaganda as a child. So I think that stuff is what holds us back. And that's why we keep reincarnating here. You know what I'm saying? That's why we keep coming back because we never learned the things we need to learn while we were here the last time because we're part of, we just get indoctrinated into a system and they basically brainwash you into believing to live for the material world, you know? And so that's what happens. And so you just believe this. And so of course, if all your energy goes into the material, where do you think you're going to come back? You're going to come back to the physical earth. You're going to come back to the physical plane.
Hmm.
Okay. If you start to realize that you're a spirit and you realize that I am a soul, okay, that's only encompassing this body while I'm here on earth, then that's about half the battle right there. And I asked this to all the people. I was like, what are you? Do you believe you're a body with a soul? Or are you a soul inside a body? And you can find a lot by that answer. When the people say, yeah, oh, I have a soul, but I have a body. No, you're not, so what you have to understand where's your main focus? Your focus is the body and then the soul. Your first focus should be the soul inside your body, because that way you know what you truly are. And so that question is what I ask people sometimes, just to gauge where they are spiritually and where in their development. Because a lot of people listen to you and you think they're
I
hip
have
to what
one.
you're saying.
I've got one, Scarab. I say,
What's that?
do you live, inside out or outside in?
Mm. They're very good. Oh no, that's exactly the same thing. Yeah, exactly. That's another way to word it. Sure. Very good. Very good. Yeah, and that's the thing is like you start to realize like after you start to experience Mandela effect, the paranormal, you start to be given gifts of sight. And once you see these things and you start to put all together, I mean, I tell people everything. I share it all with them. I'm like, look, I got nothing to hide. Nothing. I'm here to tell you, I am just, man, I'm a watchman on the wall. Okay. I started experiencing these things and I prayed about, asking God for sight a long, long time ago when I first came back to my Christian upbringing. Okay. And there was a time where I just, for a while, I was like, oh, God, what was God? I didn't even know what God was. And then at some point I came back because I went through a lot of, just, a lot of an awakening process and it wasn't easy. And I thought I was even going through like a situation where I might be, having anxiety or some sort of panic attack over all this, and depression was another one. It's like, because, when you break out of that mold and it's like in the Matrix, the movie, The Matrix, he tells Neo, like, look, man, all I got is the truth. I mean, It's not gonna be all puppies and roses. Okay, it's just not. And so he's like, cool, I'm ready to do this. And when he sees what what the real world is, and that's how I felt. I felt like Neo, like I was like, oh God, like, oh my God, I've fallen for all this for so long. Like, how did I not see, like the deception in this place, in the lies, and even today you see so much of it in the media, and it's even worse than it's ever been. And you're just like, okay, well, I'm one guy and I'm speaking out and I'm doing my best, but at the same time, no one's listening to me. The news isn't going to pick me up. I mean, we should listen to what Dan has to say. That's not going to happen. So, all I can do is say, you have to touch on to God. You have to touch into the higher power and ask for guidance and just say, you know what? You
Gareth,
realize what's that?
is to do with like resonating with people. You're either on the same frequency. Oh, that's my dog going mad.
Uh-oh.
She sounds like City and Sweep at the moment. She gets a bit crazy. I don't know if it's the weather. We've got a hot heat wave at the moment. She
Poor
just started
baby.
crying. Like,
Oh.
there's nothing wrong. She's probably wagging her tail, but she just gets overexcited immediately. This last like few days,
Maybe
me
you have
crazy.
maybe there's a spirit in your house.
Only when she thinks something's happening. Like, are you moving?
Oh,
Are you going out? Are you
yeah.
going there? Oh, and she goes mad. But it's
I believe those doggies can see those spirits, you know.
yeah. If you watch their faces,
Mhm.
they watch them going around the room.
They do. And I've seen my dog bark at a corner one time and there was nothing there. Just sitting there barking. And I mean, like, oh,
Oh,
and
you know
then,
what? Do you
yeah,
know
very
what?
strange.
I put out the other day the video about the fourth dimension, and they're trying to explain it that in Flatland, the Flatland doesn't see the 3D apple. It only has this sort of voice from within. That's how he explained it. So that made me
Oh,
realize that the people who've died, that's why you can feel them, but you can't see them because they're in another dimension. So I just think it's just what we're living in is
yeah. See, I use the ant concept to explain the different dimensions because I'm always saying, like ants have their own society and they have the queen and they have the worker ants and the ants that guard the mound and things like that. And I thought it's like this is how I explain God is like, so or any higher being, that could be on a different dimension. But basically it's like this. You have the mound, and if you walk up to it, the ants aren't going to come out and attack you. They don't know you're there. They don't even acknowledge you. You can put your hand right over the mound, and the only time they would ever suspect you were there if they felt a change in maybe the heat from your hand or whatever. But they will attack if you break into their reality and you disrupt the mound. And then they'll be like, they'll go crazy and they'll be everywhere. And I always thought, it's sort of strange, like they don't even see us there, and we can observe and everything else. And that's kind of how I explain our world in a lot of ways from the higher realms, from a spiritual sense.
mm. Floss, come here. Don't start up here, Floss. Come here. Oh, that's it. My daughter's coming out now. My daughter's gone to the loo, and the dog wants to be with her. Oh, she's going to start crying, but she stopped now. Um, yeah,
Yeah, so just different thought processes on just life in general. And I mean, gosh, I don't know. I mean, we cover everything, as you know, in the show regarding different Mandela changes. And
yeah, Scarab.
it's not just one thing, but there's a lot of things that are just really going crazy, and it is a bit of confusion. So I do think that right now, with all of this happening, it's happening for a reason. And there's just, like I said, things are being moved around in a way of like spiritual chess, and that's how I would describe it.
Yeah, Scarab. However long
Yeah.
ago it was, it probably, I don't know, I can't think of that it's a couple of years, but it must be something like that. Because we don't have hangouts all the time, every so many months, but or we have had in the past. But somebody recommended you. They said, "Have you seen Scarab?" And then when I watched the episode that they sent me, was the one with the planes taking off and that really weird wind trail. Oh, I just don't understand that. Have you found out any more about that?
Well, it's kind of like so when I research this stuff, I I laugh because I know how crazy it sounds. Okay. But I could have, well, and I would like, it's like weird because when the changes happen, so does your, over time, your memory fades of the old way because
Mm.
now it's the new way. But I remember learning about the atmosphere. And I remember if I was, and I've talked about this before, and I've said, it's weird that water comes from the atmosphere and clouds and things like that. And it's, it's two hydrogens and one oxygen, right? H2O, right?
Mm.
And so when you figure that out, you're like, okay, hydrogen, right? So then you've learned that I remember at least learning that we were like we were living in hydrogen and oxygen were the primary gases in our atmosphere. And then you find out later that it's not. You find out the primary one is now nitrogen. And I was like, nitrogen? When did it become nitrogen? How does that even make sense that it's nitrogen? Where did all the nitrogen come from? And like, so I went on and like this, that's what I do. I research it. And like, I can't find any good paper or anything to explain away why there's so much nitrogen in our atmosphere. And I thought, that's strange. Well, how do you get nitrogen? Okay, this is weird. Now, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that this is weird. So remember all the chemtrails? I mean, people still see chemtrails, right? And remember the first reporting of chemtrails back in like the late 90s and early 2000s when they were saying that people were saying, yeah, we tested what was in them and it was barium, a lot of barium that was being dumped in the atmosphere.
Mm.
Well, oddly enough, one of the ways you get nitrogen is by burning barium. Now, I'm not saying that I'm right in any way, shape, or form. I just find it coincidental that this stuff comes up, that the barium is so like, I'm like, so you, so that's weird. So you get nitrogen from barium. Hmm. And barium was the thing that everybody said that was, and these are filling the skies of what was doing it. And I was like, it can't be governments, it's got to be something else. And then, of course, I had that one picture my friend sent me where it was an orb making a chemtrail. I kid you not. I'm like, oh my God. So it's something else.
That's
So
what I
again,
see sometimes. I point my phone up as far as it goes, but I just don't see a plane
yeah,
see something with a chemtrail on it.
right. No, it's very strange. And so basically, in my opinion, the composition of the atmosphere has changed. And so if the composition of that has changed, then maybe a lot of things are not what we're told. Maybe a lot of things are different now. And so this could explain like some of the strangeness we see with these planes that make these weird vortices because the atmosphere is different, it's denser. So because it's denser, this changed the wing designs of the planes. It also changed the way the engines sit on the planes. And I urge your audience, if you think I'm crazy, get a look at where the engines are on planes now. The engines are in front of the wing. They're not underneath the wings like they used to be. And if you go back and go back 50 years, you'll see the same design. It is the weirdest thing ever. These giant engines that are my engines in my memory were more cylindrical and they were smaller intakes and the design went underneath the wing. Oh, they're so weird now. Planes are, if you look at a plane, look at it real close. Look at a 727. If you ever flew on that plane, I would ask the audience, how many engines does a 727 have? And if you say two, I'd be like, yeah, I agree with you. It had two engines on the back of the fuselage. But now there is another engine, an intake on top of the vertical fin in the back. And then it has a jet coming out the ass end of the plane. And I'm like, it's got an ass jet. There's three jets on this thing. And I'm like, when did that ever happen? So what I'm saying is when these changes occur, there seems to be a ripple effect that happens throughout time so that in the past changes as well as the future. And so what we're dealing with now is you'll see like, well, new designs in that were that you would never expected to have existed in the past. And that's what we see a lot. I mean, we see it all the time in the engineering side of our world. And it's like, are you kidding me? When did they ever have this kind of stuff? Like all this new technology and stuff that seems to just pop out of nowhere. Again, a la Star Forts, you know? Now there's
So
Star
you
Forts
don't
everywhere.
think that those lines which come off the wings is some kind of, I don't know how, I could only think it looks like
No,
plasma
I
to me.
think I think that what we're flying through has got a different density to it. I think our atmosphere has changed because our world isn't even in the same place. So if you remember, in science, we were told that we're on the outer edge of the galaxy, on the very edge, and we are on the Sagittarius arm. And then now you look at where we're at, and we're no longer on the Sagittarius arm. We're in the middle, like almost in the middle of the galaxy, and we are, on the Orion Spur. Orion Spur, excuse me, what the hell is the Orion Spur? I've never even heard of that. Like that, of course it was Sagittarius. It wasn't, but no, we're not. So then you look at those
I remember
changes.
someone else a few years ago saying exactly the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm talking about. It's so bizarre. And so you experience this and you say, well, maybe this is why the planes were making some of these trails in the sky. Maybe they weren't all quote chemtrails. Maybe it's because the atmosphere, there's been this and like I said, I don't know how long a
It does
change
look weird
takes.
though, doesn't it, though, Scarab?
Yeah. Oh no, it's very bizarre. I mean, there's no way that that was a thing. And also, you have rotor vortices too. So a propeller sometimes will actually will make a spiral around the propeller as the plane is taking off too. It's not just wingtips. There's rotor
Do you think then
vortices and all kinds of things.
when they move the engine further forward, do you think that might have done something?
I think that it's I think so so imagine the world like something changed. Okay, so imagine a static world, okay, but now we're changing this world, and within this change, what's going to take place is that it could be anything. So if you change an atmosphere of the world, you decide that whatever now it's going to be a nitrogen rich atmosphere, then it's going to change the overall density of the atmosphere, in my opinion. So what you would do is, though, in the past, when they were designing aircraft, they would have designed it for this new change. So the new change now will reflect in the future where we are, and that's why we see it. And that's what I'm saying. It's like I think people have used this term before. It's retrocausality or something like that. People use that term in the past, and so basically, it's like every time a change happens, for us now, it also resonates back to the future as well as
But they
in
also talk
or the
about
past
planes.
and also in the future. What's
They
that?
also talk about the planes flying around up there in a sea of air. Like, and those 747, those big Airbuses, when they take off, it starts moving around just above your heads. We're not even like half a mile up now. They're just above the heads in those shows, and they're flying around as if they're in the sea.
Huh. Well, it's kind of strange. Like I
I was
remember,
actually wondering whether you
yeah,
can only find it in when you look up 4D flying, you can only find it in little like toy planes, and they can show you how the plane will jump through the air and do things differently. But in a way, those Airbuses seem to have military technology. I'm not saying guns, I'm saying the technology, because military planes can just take off almost like straight up.
right.
It's like they don't, what are those English things that, I forget what they're called now. They used to just jump up, they didn't fly, and
Oh, you're talking about the Harrier jets and stuff?
that's it, yeah. But planes
Mm.
can sort of do that now, almost from standstill. The thing can take off on a vertical takeoff. And I just think
Right.
they're flying in another dimension.
Well,
And
this is
that's why
like,
you and
mhm.
that's why you have those funny vortices coming off its wings.
But I'm saying the vortices are created because of the movement of air around the tips of those propellers or
And
the
they
tips of the
don't look
wings.
like water, do they? I don't know, it looks all
It
weird. I
does
don't know,
look
I
like,
can't explain it.
let's be honest, what we're experiencing here is like exactly what we saw with SpaceX. So in 2017, there was a rocket launch over there in off the West Coast, and SpaceX claimed that it was their rocket. Okay, so this thing goes in the sky, and it like creates like this big, we called it We call it a big sky sperm because it looked like a big like plume in the sky. It was massive, and it lit up, and it really lit up too because it had like this glowy kind of effect to it. And SpaceX swears that that's our rocket and whatever. Okay, interesting. So then you take that same footage and you don't watch it at normal speed. If you watch it at like 2 times faster, when it hits the atmosphere, it makes ripples. Okay, in the upper atmosphere, it makes ripples like it's going through water. Okay, so what I'm saying is, if we have all this water down here, we have water up there. That's what it appears to be.
I know
It's
we
like a
live
substrate
in
like
watered
water.
down water. It's crazy, isn't it?
It
Everything has
is.
to be fairly wet, otherwise our lungs wouldn't work properly.
I think so. And I just think that like whatever changes are being made to our world right now, it was like it's being made by some higher source. So I remember a world, like I said, with hydrogen and oxygen, because it made sense that those two components would mix in the upper atmosphere and it would come down as rain. Now it's the world is 70% nitrogen. So where does the hydrogen go? How do we get the hydrogen in there to mix with the storm clouds and stuff like that and drop rain? Or what's going on here? It's just strange because I mean I would expect that those two components would be the major components since those two components combined make water, and water primarily makes up most of our world. So it just makes sense. But now it's nitrogen, and it's like they can't explain where the nitrogen came from. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm.
Science is that they just say over billions of years it must have came from asteroids or something. All
Yeah,
these it's
you
always an
jump
asteroid, you know.
one explanation to another without them saying
Yeah.
that they were changing it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm just and I know some of the scientific stuff is really strange because when you like you have a memory of how you learned science growing up, and you know it's like how I remember viewing the moon when I was a child, and I was always listen. I spent a lot of time outdoors staring at the stars, and I was so enthralled by them. And in 2016, when or it might have been before that, honestly, but I didn't notice it till the Mandela effect that the moon cycles were off, and I didn't realize that like a lot of the constellations in our sky are now off or much bigger. Like Orion was massively bigger than in, so everything in the sky looked really strange. It looked like it was magnified.
Do
And
you
the
think
odd
that
part was,
changes though? Like I know that is like when I used to think the sun was 93 million miles away, it looked it. Now you realise, God, it just looks like a couple of miles above your head now. And like
well, you know
maybe
why
it gets
too?
close if you've woken up.
Well, people might have noticed too that the clouds look a lot lower than they used to look.
Oh my God, I've
Like,
worked that out. I've done videos on that. Those things are
yeah,
about maybe less than half a mile up.
they're closer than that. You know what will really freak you out? Go to Amazon and get like a decent laser pen. Like don't buy the cheap one that you play with a cat. Get one that's like a $20-$30 that actually throws out a really good beam. And then one day when you look up and you see the clouds at night, just shoot that thing up there and then you'll have more perspective. You'll get this, the thing will have you actually shoot it like off the bottom of the cloud and see it pretty clearly, and it'll freak you out because you'll be like, you'll realize that everything above us is not what it seems. Our eyes perceive it to be a certain distance, but things are truly closer than they appear. And the reason I know this is because I was shown something, and I believe I was shown something by spirit. Because this is a really weird situation, but I might have mentioned this before on your show. But I was flying. I had a drone. Okay, I had this drone. It was like a decent drone. It was a Phantom 3 drone. I want to tell everybody the details because you need to understand what happened. It's a Phantom 3 drone. Now, I had it programmed to fly 125 feet above my head, and I was going to send it down the street and come back and whatever. But before I did that, I was standing at the shop in the middle of the road when I launched this thing, and one of my customers came up and they were like, "Hey, cool." They were like checking me out, checking out the drone and everything. And we were both looking up at it at the same time. And you know what we saw? I saw a meteorite like you see in the when you look up in the sky and you see the streak of light that comes through, you see a meteor come down, or you'll
Okay.
see a meteor strike, go across the sky. Have you ever seen one?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, guess what? It was under the drone. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? Is that if I had seen that meteor, if I had seen it, okay, with no drone, I would assume that it was 100,000 feet up or greater in the upper atmosphere, because my eyes, I had no way of to perceive the distance. What I'm trying to tell you is things happen here much closer than you think. That meteor went underneath the drone, and my witness saw it, and we were both dumbfounded at what we just like. That should not have happened. There was a flash of light, and it literally looked like the flash of light was maybe, I don't know, 25 feet above us. And all I'm saying is our eyes will deceive us, and these are the lenses that are, in my opinion, that our brain basically interprets what we see. And so if you can affect the brain, okay, and you can affect what you see, like this is part of the manipulation process that we live here in this physical world. I think that we're not allowed to see the truth, and we just interpret things because of course, there couldn't be a meteorite 25 feet from you, Dan. Oh yes, there was. There absolutely was, and it flew right under
I
the
think
drone
this
as
is
a
what
flash of light.
people don't realize, because they use heart and they use it, so we're told through videos to control us, and it's only feet above your head that they're doing it.
Right. So if what we see isn't, if what we see isn't necessarily the truth, and when you see clouds and stuff like that, and you look at it and you think, oh my gosh, those must be a half a mile up. Well, what if they're not?
Mm.
What if those clouds are really only like 300 feet up? You know,
Yeah,
wouldn't that be?
I
That's a
know
little
they're not.
freaky when you start thinking about
I've
it.
mentioned it
Yeah.
quite a few times on my videos how low the clouds are. But say when
Yeah.
I was a little girl, I don't remember the clouds like that. They were up there. They were right up there. And now
Hmm.
they're right down here. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Oh no, the sky looks like it's lowered. It really does. It looks like, and this is like the compression effect that we're seeing on the earth itself when we look at the earth changes in the Mandela effect, and we see the continents are moving in different spots, and we see things are totally in disorder.
But
I
is
mean,
it just
totally.
closer now because we realise it's closer? Or has it got closer? Is that us doing it or is it them doing it?
Well, I don't know any reason why us collectively would want something to shift as much as it has. There is a place, like a lot of people remember South America connecting to the top of or, I'm sorry, the Yucatan Peninsula, coming from North America, Mexico into the Yucatan, connecting like literally in the middle of South America. Now, what's weird, if you look at a map, you look at where it connects, you find out, you see this, how it twists around. Like, so it looks like South America has moved like literally 1,000 miles to the east. But there's a spot, right, that looks like if you were to like where it used to be connected, like in the upper southern part of South America. And did you know that this area, this region, has a storm, an electrical storm, almost every single night? Almost like, I want to describe it almost like as if the plug, like if there was some sort of change in this physical world, there is like an energy left over by removing that, and you see it manifest as an electrical storm, or it's something that people can witness. And can you believe that there's an electrical storm, a lightning storm, every single night, practically all year round, at this one spot where many of us say that's where the Yucatan Peninsula connected with South America. I mean, it's just odd. And that's the kind of weird, geographical changes that we see. Not to mention this world, listen, there is beauty being created around this world every single day. There are so many beautiful, amazing places to see. And yet it's really sad because right now we're going on lockdown, and it's, they only want us to experience that beauty, and it's really, really sad. But hopefully things will change here real soon, and I do believe that things are going to change. I think that we cannot live, this is me speaking here, this is just my belief, okay? I'm not trying to convince anybody of this, but my belief is that as God's children, There is no way that we can continue to live the way we've been living with the lies and the deceit and the fear and the violence and everything else that we've been experiencing, especially taking advantage of the children and whatnot. All the horrible things that we've had to go through in this world, I believe for humanity to continue on towards a more righteous path and understanding of ourselves and God, that has to end. And I do believe and this is the good news. I do believe that very shortly we're going to see some things that are going to be amazing. Don't ask me why I know this. I'm just telling you from the meditation and the prayer and everything else. I've been given if I was to tell you I've been given a word that would sound strange. But when I'm just telling you, I've been giving thoughts to tell me that things are going to be okay. Even though it looks like, I always tell people, it's always the darkest before the dawn. And I do believe that right now we're just experiencing a lot of darkness because the dawn is coming, a new dawn. And so that would be the message I would, definitely convey to anybody listening today.
Oh, love you too, Scarab.
But I think a lot of people are worried, a lot of people are seeing all this stuff going on around the world. I know
There's a
I
lot of
was
people are beginning to see it all.
yeah. Well, I've
Can I
just
tell you
been
something else that I found
yeah,
out? You
sure,
might
sure.
find it a little bit interesting. I'm not saying, that I'm the only person that knows this because it's not true, but they seem to have found a forest of trees in the Gulf of Mexico about 60 miles out.
A forest of trees.
So Doggerland has trees in it, the same, and now it's got water on it. And this woman, even though they believe everything different to us, she said, well, sometimes the water comes in and sometimes the water goes out. And what it is I forget the trees now. They're a very famous tree. They grow knees round them so that they can grow in wet areas and not fall over, and the knees keep them stable. And they found all
Okay.
these trees out there, and they found that the trees are running on a river. But the wood is not rotten, although they're saying that they're hundreds of thousands of years old. And when they've cut and looked into the wood, some of the rings they're saying are very small, which means these trees were a bit stressed. The bigger the ring, the less stressed the tree is, the smaller the ring, so less growth. So that's what they were looking for. But I mean, 60 miles out, a lot of water came in then.
60 miles out
Something like that.
In the Gulf of
Yeah,
Mexico.
you put forest in the Gulf of Mexico. See,
Okay, so is it the ancient cypress forest that was found 60 feet underwater in the Gulf? Is that the one?
oh, that probably is it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's strange. I want to see pictures. So are the trees still standing?
No, a lot of the trees have fallen over,
Oh,
and
see, that would be
it now
crazy.
it now looks like
That would be cool if you were like a diver and you went underneath there and there were like trees underwater.
well,
Like
by
it would almost,
accident they
how the
found
hell?
them. By
Yeah.
accident they found them, but the trees have fallen over, so it's taken like the appearance, or the animals are treating it like they would treat it a coral reef, but it's wood, and a lot of
Yeah.
people it's fallen over one on top of the other, so it's quite a big place.
So I kind of understand all that because you remember a few years ago, in I would say about 2008 or so, there was a paleontologist who found a bone, and when they broke open the bone and looked under it in a microscope, they found like red plasma still in the bone from a dinosaur that died 65 million years ago. Okay, 65 million years. Like, there's no effing way. There's no way that there would be any sign of anything red. That should be a fossil, a stone, whatever. But it wasn't. And that was the thing, is they're finding tissue and stuff like that on these bones, and it's like, okay, so like something's happening here where obviously the animals didn't die off that long ago, so that that's a given. So there's something happening. So, and then with the earth changes that we're seeing,
Petrification
I wouldn't
can
be
happen.
surprised that they found a forest under there.
Petrification can happen a lot quicker than we think it would. Like, you think it takes thousands of years, it might only take
True.
10 years, and then
That's
and
true.
then
Very
it'll
true.
evolve.
Yes, that's very true. And so, if you want to, and then I always ask the question, well, how did all these dinosaurs end up under layers of strata? Like, what caused layers of strata? It's not like it rains dirt. So
Well,
if something
Christmas,
dies on the earth, like it didn't sink down like 1,000 feet or something, like it's so ridiculous. Like, to me, that's the flood, right? That's the flood story. That's the deluge. It churned up everything. The waters came from the heavens, and they came up from the deep. I can show you on the earth. I remember there was a huge scar on the earth, researching the maps and stuff of undersea maps. There was this huge scar. And then, like, now the earth is being healed because that scar is no longer available. It's not there anymore. So what I surmise is what's happening is this new earth is sort of being created. But what it's doing is taking the old earth and it's healing it, and it's sort of going back to an earlier time period. That's why we start to see, fossilized dinosaur bones with blood in them. That's why we start to see like stuff that literally was extinct. They're called Lazarus animals. Look it up for yourself, guys. Fact check. Look it up, Lazarus animals. There's like hundreds of cases of animals that were gone. But guess what? They now exist. They're back. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see some of the famous ones come back, like a dodo bird or, stuff like that. I would not be shocked to see them finding one of these things, because new islands are popping up all the time. New species, or species they thought were gone, and they exist again. The coelacanth was found. That was 65 million-year-old fish that showed up. There's reports that they think that megalodons might be still roaming the ocean, and they have a good case for some of it, because something ate a great white shark and took it down 3,000 feet, and it was 80 degrees by the sensors, and they don't know what could have ate a great white shark, and nothing would have swam that fast, down 3,000 feet. They tracked this thing. Basically, it was in the belly of something else bigger. Okay. So I'm just saying, like, there are
oh,
so many new things that are popping up in our world. And I do believe that this earth it's somehow, to me, seems like everything's sort of being renewed again, while at the same time things are being removed and destroyed. It's kind of weird. It's like you can see this pattern of destruction and anger and all this stuff that's taking place in our world. But at the same time, okay, if you're paying attention, don't focus on that necessarily, but observe. And then if you look in the other side and you say to yourself, my God, there's all these new and amazing places that are showing up. There is beauty in this world right now. And I
you know what it
believe,
means though, Scarab? It means that when you go
yeah.
out to the garden or to the hills, what you're looking
Mhm.
at, even though it's got grass on it, underneath, most of that was alive at one time, one way or another.
Right, right.
Which
And
is
I,
showing up the
well, yeah, well, if you get into like some of the idea of the flood and all the stuff like that,
mm,
like I don't know if you got into mud flood stuff, but that stuff is so interesting to me. I'll be
I just
honest with
don't
you, I
know
don't
about
know
it.
what to believe, but some of the mountain ranges that you see, and it literally looks like people laid over on their sides, right? Have you seen some of those
That
images?
I don't know about that, but what I've noticed is that there's a lot of like castles and buildings that were built on top of rocks. And sometimes
Yeah.
we look at them, and I know that Wide Awake has done a lot about that. And basically, you realize that those were real buildings on there and they've petrified into rock. And
Well,
I came across
yeah.
pictures today where all this
Mhm.
stuff was chumped up, and these people are looking over and looking down into it, and next to them, in it, is a brick wall. In
Yeah.
it, so it looks like burnt out rock, but in its building with bricks.
I think we had I believe that, like when Jesus said, in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of man, meaning that, once was, will once be, will be again. Meaning, like, we always act like we are the head of the spear in technology and the understanding of sciences and things like that. But I have a feeling that that's not necessarily true. I do believe in the biblical giants. I do believe that there were, very, very large people living on earth. I do believe that in the Bible it states that this happened because of, of course, the incarnation with the fallen angels and the, all the stuff, the sins of man and the fall of man and this and that. Now, I can't really speak to that because, of course, I didn't see it, but something is going on with just like I said, some of the construction that we've seen and the things that
Very
we.
strange, your scarabs about rebirth.
Yeah, I know, right? And that's what I mean is like, I do believe that we're all, I do believe everyone has a path, right? And like I said, I try to take it with a grain of salt and be very humble about anything that I learn and never try to be like, oh, I just know, try to be like, oh, I know it all. No, I do not. I am just an observer and I just find it, I find this place and the things that are happening to all of us so, well, quite fascinating, honestly. And I just try to just try to share a message, like just what I know and just do the best I can, honestly. Just do the best I can because I wish, if I, and I always tell people like, look, if I, I don't know, if an angel comes down and tells me, like, gives me all the scoop on I'll tell you, I'll be the first one. Okay, I won't have any problem sharing any message with anybody of hope and to tell people what's going on. Well, maybe even doom if that's what we need to learn, But the point is I think that things, as we know, are destroyed and then they're created again, and that's what you see. But right now, if you're Mandela affected, if you've seen or experienced these changes, okay, I would consider yourself so lucky because in my opinion you're getting a front row seat, okay, to God's handiwork in a sense. And I think that's a beautiful thing, even if it, and I'm telling you, it's not easy. It's never, if you think this has been something that I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad that I'm the guy or whatever, you got to be crazy, man. This has been harder than anything to deal with. Oh my God, I don't know how many times I've struggled with this. like am I doing the right thing? God, am I on the right path? Should I just plug back into the matrix and just do my thing and like not worry about any of this? And as soon as I think that way, it's so weird because synchronicity works in interesting ways. And I'll get an email from somebody randomly, and I'll hear about like, oh my gosh, I just want to say how important your show is and how much it meant to me and my family, or something very kind like that. And I'm going to tell you that just makes me feel so amazing because I'm like, okay, well, obviously I must be doing this for the right reasons, and I'm glad I'm on the right path. And even though it's difficult, I have to still tell myself all the time, dude, this physical world isn't reality. It just isn't. I mean, it states it in the Bible. That the times you're living in. I mean, it's all over. In John, it states, like, don't be lovers of this world or anything in it, because basically he says in that scripture, and I can't quote it verbatim, but he basically says you're living in a false reality. You are living in a matrix. And then you look at Timothy and it says, during this time period, men will be lovers of themselves, arrogant and boastful, and there'll be strife between them and their siblings and their parents. How much is that is happening right now? You know what I'm saying? Where people just don't even care about one another. I mean, all of this stuff is happening. So again, I'm not trying to urge anybody to go to church. The church is corrupted. I get it. I understand. You're not going to get any. There is no spirituality in church, and most of most of your listeners are very spiritual. But I would say, don't be don't be too quick to put down that Bible and just read, because some of that text in there is quite interesting, and I do believe it relates to exactly what we're seeing today. I mean, the wolf is now dwelling with the lamb. Everyone knows it was the lion and the lamb. Everybody remembers those verses who went to church, and I'm sorry, but that was totally there. And now it's a wolf dwelling with, so you have to look at everything, and that's what I try to do. I try to weigh out what is good and take from that. Okay. And just see like what's happening here. And I just don't try to ever like lock. I am such an anomaly because, I don't really fall into any new age stuff, and I don't really fall in, the Christians would call me a heretic. So what I am is just original. It's what I do is I just look at everything and I just try to find the truth in it all and just sort of put things together. And I know that I'm on the right path with a lot of this because of the synchronicities that I've experienced for the last literally 15 to 20 years. And
Do you
when I
know what
woke
else
up,
you also know, Scarab? Is
what's that?
that you're at peace with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not easy because, you know, people judge you. People will
Oh,
look
yeah,
down at
there
you
are
and scoff at you.
there is
And
outer stuff that sort of throws you off
a
a little
lot of
bit.
my friends think I'm crazy. My family thinks I'm nuts. Yeah, they're like, look what you're doing. You're throwing your life away. You're not out there making all that money like you used to make, and you're not, you know, doing all, you know, whatever. And it's like, yeah, well, sorry. I feel like, you know, when you see the spiritual importance in what you've at least seen and experienced, then how can I go back and just, I mean, gosh, you know, I know a lot of people don't want to believe that you're judged, but I
Yeah,
do think
money
there's
is
a,
a matter of medium, isn't it? It's nothing else. It's not your God.
what's that?
Money is a matter of medium, not your God.
Sure. Right, right. It's a way to it's like playing Monopoly. I mean, it's like, look, if I'm playing the Monopoly game, I gotta have the Monopoly money to buy a house or, you know, pay for so, you know, things I need. I get that. That's all it really boils down to. If you live for that and you're just like you try to, you know, uh, if you think that that's what you are, you know, and you're around people who treat you differently because you have more of that Monopoly money, well, I'm sorry, but what a sad existence. What a truly sad existence. Like that almost makes me want to cry. Like you literally want to believe that those people that kiss your ass and just because you have stuff that they want, you think that those are really your friends. That's what you think friendship. That yeah, no thanks. I you know what? No. That's not because if you lost all that, they would be. If you lost all that, or at one point decided that, oh my god, money means nothing, and told all your friends and said, you know what, I'm going a different route, and I'm going to, you know, I'm just going to follow my path somewhere else. They think you're crazy, and they wouldn't probably want to even talk to you again, and you know they would be the first ones to leave you out in the wilderness. That's not what I feel like this world's about. I mean, I used to feel that way when I was younger, but I was a boy and I didn't know what I was doing. I was just I but I always felt different. You know, I didn't know that this was in me until later. And so, but something I never felt completely connected with the world, you know, from day one. Like I remember, oh my God, from day one, I never felt connected. And I remember looking at everything like I had been here before. And I'll never forget that feeling I had in the car when we were driving one day. And I was looking at this world and just so amazed by it. And like, my God, it's changed a lot. But I had this sense of knowing that I have done this before. And see, this is where the Christians would be like, you're a heretic, Dan. You think there's reincarnation. Look, man, I don't know what you want to call it. Okay. But all I can tell you is that from when I was born and I was, you know, having reoccurring dreams of the same type of dream of my demise from a previous incarnation, where did that come from? Where do any of these dreams come from that we have? Are those bits and pieces of a former life that we're just remembering, or one that's going on parallel to us now? We don't know. But it's so strange to me that even as a little boy or girl, when you're dreaming and you see and experience the vividness of some of these dreams and the reoccurring nature of them, like doesn't that ever, don't you wonder like where in the hell the mind came up with these visions? Like why wouldn't they
Yeah, when you
be
dream, you can touch it,
right?
smell it, taste it, everything.
Sure. So a lot of that is very interesting to me, and I just think that that happened to me. And there's
I
been a
don't tend
lot.
to dream very much anymore. I just
No, I don't either.
when I hit
Because
that pillow, thought I'm gone.
okay, so this is what's going on, and this is I thought about this too. I was like, why can't I dream of the future anymore? It's kind of weird
You're in the
because
future.
yeah, because see, like in because I used to have a lot of deja vu in my past, and I used to like dream of the future and I'd experience future events. But now I've noticed like in the last few years, there is no future. Like what I'm trying to say is everything that we're experiencing right now, we're coming to the end of it. We're coming to the end of the cycle. If you're into the new age philosophies and things like that, yes, there is a cycle, and yes, we're coming to the end of it. There is the Christians might call it the rapture. They might, whatever, they might say Jesus is returning, whatever it might be. We're all right. Okay. We're all on the same page, people. Call it what you want to call it. The end is nigh. Okay. It's very soon. Now, I don't know. I can't give you, no man knows the day nor the hour. We don't know. But I'm just telling you, like, and God, and I only pray that we don't have to go through, too much birthing pains to get there. But it appears that, the world is
They're
definitely
turning
heading
the
for
screws
a
quite a lot
major,
lately, though, aren't they?
what's that, honey?
They are turning the screws quite a lot lately in the last few years, aren't they?
Sweetheart, the things that they're doing to us right now, the
It's a
way
bit
they're setting up the world for the future. Okay. That is so ungodly. That is so against God in so many
utter
ways.
abuse, as far as I can tell. Utter abuse.
Oh, it's terrible. And you really think humanity can live like that under the lies and the we can't. Not to mention there won't be any of it. They're already probably right now as we speak destroying our chances of reproduction. With the vaccines and the chemicals and everything else that we're experiencing right now. That's going to be a big problem. Not to mention,
Yeah, we
just
can't say very much about that, Scarab.
oh, is that a no?
Yeah, well, because
Okay.
YouTube don't like it.
No, they don't. No, they don't. But I figured since we kind of uh put in a bunch of buffers in here talking about other things, I felt like maybe the censors won't catch it. But
Well,
I
don't
do
mention
feel
it.
like, yeah,
Don't say it by name again.
okay. Well, I do feel like there's definitely some evil in the world with all that. I mean, my God,
But we also know
if you
they like to run on fear.
hmm we
The
we've
dog's
been
not shut up.
we've been we've been properly programmed by it, haven't we? We've been programmed by sexual explicit content. We've been programmed to just, again, to touch on things that keep us distracted. Fear, sex, drugs, all that good stuff. It's just been implemented into our society. I mean, look at America. Like, I remember a few years ago when, like, all these states were like, yeah, we're making weed legal. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? Weed is good for you. Yeah, okay. All right. So you think smoking weed every day is good for you? Okay, probably does help in a lot of ways. I would get that. However, when the government start allowing it and giving it to the people, then you have to question it.
It's a bit weird, isn't it?
It is. I'm like, people, come on. Can you wait? Do you think that maybe they want you to be, I don't know, docile, and they want you to do you think that's kind of strange too? Like, now they're allowing marijuana when they've modified it and GMO the hell out of it. Now they're allowing it, but they wouldn't allow it back in the 70s when it was like, whatever, 6% THC. Oh, but now we'll allow it now because it's like 20% with the good grade stuff. Like the stuff that really, and then, oh no, let's allow people to then modify that and turn it into other things. And I don't want to get into the names, but the point is that literally you can, press it out and do all kinds of stuff to it to make it super, super strong. Okay. And I only know how strong it is because, yes, yours truly did try it because my friend was like, you got to try this. This is the new thing, man. Yeah. And I tried it. I was like, holy Jesus, man. This is not even like whatever, like it used to be. And I know I may be showing my age. Like, back in my day, we used to smoke the wacky tobacco. That is not. My point is like back in the day, we used to just hang out, chill a little bit. We talk, we'd socialize, then we'd eat some food, get a little hungry, and be like, man, I got the munchies. How much you guys want to eat? That's how it was. Now stuff blasts you off, man. It's like something else. So I would almost say it's almost like a drug. And I'm sorry for those out there that smoke it and everything. I'm not dissing on you. I'm not. Hey, man, I've been there. Okay, I'm just saying you gotta look at the logic. Maybe it's just a way of getting people, to be basically more subservient to the system because you're keeping them
Or
high as
the
shit all the
opposite.
time. What's that?
Or the opposite.
Or the opposite. Well, yeah, could be that too. There's a lot to be said for what they're doing, but I just think it's just weird that all these states are now allowing it. It's like it's all allowed. Now, I'm not opposed to like CBD and stuff like that because I've seen people talk about the
In the
benefits of that.
past,
And
we've had treaties 150 years ago with opium wars. It's crazy.
wow, that's interesting. Would you say they were what again?
Opium wars out in the Middle East.
Hmm. They've been fighting those opium wars for a long time. I mean, the whole thing with Afghanistan and Russia was an opium war in America. Everybody was vying to see who could control Afghanistan and control the poppy fields back then, right?
I mean, you're into the Mandela effect. Do you think, like, when they've done all this, because I just didn't feel that we'd been here as long as they said at all. And then it's like, was something like the League of Gentlemen just 10 years? Was certain things only years? And they've made it into centuries or eras. And so that's why we can't work things out. Maybe
Yeah.
things weren't as long as some of the eras and things weren't as long as they're telling us or making it appear.
Huh.
Because there's a Victorian League of Gentlemen, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
a Victorian who looks like he's been bashed up, he's poor, got no clothes, no shoes, and he's in mud. There's
Huh.
like different kind of Victorians.
Different kind of it. I've never really looked into that.
You know what I mean? You get all the sorrowful pictures of all the really sad people, the little
Oh,
children,
sure, sure, sure. And then
uh,
you have some that are really like
and then you've got the
beautiful
League of
and
Gentlemen.
opulent. Right. You have the opulent type, I got you. It's so weird, isn't it? So
But
weird
we
to think that that's the way
can't
we
tell if
live
any of
back.
it's real either, because we can only see
Mm.
what's real when we've seen it or experienced it, really.
What if our world is like just literally set up like your reality is it only starts when you're born? Have
Yes,
you
I
ever, have you ever
well, yeah, we
considered that
that
idea? Like maybe, like I
sort
always wondered, like I always think of like different scenarios, like how this could all exist. Meaning, like we all know that there were people before us. We have our grandparents and whatever. But I'm saying, like, is there a point where we're really only so far old? Like you go so far back, we're not going to have really much record of anything. I always wonder sometimes, like, if this is some sort of Westworld thing where things like history is
Yeah,
sort of like,
you said about changing the scenery. I think they're doing that. I mean, I've been looking up some Scottish Isles, and because first of all, it just sort of interested me that a lot of places were sort of empty now, but they used to have mines on them. But some of these islands, people just lived on them. But there's
right.
one place in the 1970s, they filmed it, and you can see there's quite a lot of buildings on it. And now there doesn't seem to be very many at all. Yes, I know we're 30, 40 years on, but we still see ruins. It's like, I just think they dismantle it without us looking. They
I'm
get rid of
sorry.
it. They get rid of
Yeah.
it without us noticing it.
Well, it's kind of like the whole thing with the World's Fairs. So they had these World's Fairs, and if you go back and look, and somebody was sending me pictures, like one of my subscribers, and they're like, "Look at these World's Fairs. Look at these buildings." They're telling me that they're all made like to be. They're all temporary. Temporary. I mean, I'm like, why in the hell would you go to
You
this,
know,
like
that's why
to?
it was part of the Holy Roman Empire.
Well, it's just bizarre to see like they all have the same type of architecture, the big arches and the beautiful inlaid tiles. And you're
The
telling
white
me that
cities.
all these buildings were just made for a World's Fair, like this whole complex. And then they were just and people were allowed to walk around them and everything else. And they were all structurally sound and no piece of it fell off and killed somebody or, whatever. And you're
Yeah,
telling
some of
me
these
they spent all
buildings
this,
were 9 acres big. Some of the
right?
buildings, 9 acres. And then the Ferris wheel thing, that could sit, was it 2,000 people a ride or something? You're like, what?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's almost like our world's been set up for us. I know that sounds insane. So what set up our world? What forces are in place? And it's like when you look at like old Parliament buildings and well, look at like Notre Dame that just burned down a few. You know, that was a weird fire.
So criminal because that was an amazing building.
So that church burns, and like when you thought about the wood, they can't duplicate it because you can't find trees that big anymore. Like the wood that they built that thing. And then you have to say, okay, wait a minute. Let's just say, like, imagine when it was built. Okay, so Notre Dame was built. Let me look at the year it was built because I don't want to get this wrong.
And the 10th century.
Was it? Is it that old? Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's
Notre
obviously some
Dame.
pagan building or something, or I don't know. I was looking today, you know, I've got well, it's called Donington Castle, but they call it a fortified building as well, whatever that is. And I found today in France there was one very similar to it. So I made a little video about that. So we ran France, France ran us. Yes, I understand that, but things keep popping up all the time.
Interesting. So it's so Notre Dame
I love that is one of the most
opened
amazing
in
buildings ever, that Notre Dame.
construction started in 1163.
I think sometimes you'll find it younger than that. Like it's the end of the 10th century.
Oh my God. Okay. So wait, is this the same? The one that burned down was Paris, right?
Yeah, how could they build that with it? It was such
How
a
could they have
beautiful
built that with
structure.
the wooden beams? It's like, how did they even build it with the like without any real manufacturing
Yeah, no
like
cranes,
industrial tools that we have today?
yeah,
Like
they're
seems
quilted
crazy.
and
Yeah.
probably wooden, stone wheels while they're managing to put these buildings up, which you need properly architects. You can't just slap something like that up. That Notre Dame with those bits that stuck out of it, it looked like some super, like, what do you call it? Like, if you were going to say future, then that looks very futuristic.
Hmm. Yeah, it just seems really bizarre. So I'm looking at this. You know, it's weird. Is like I'm looking at pictures of it right now, and it's like I haven't seen it since it was on fire, honestly. So I'm just looking at it like, So what I noticed is like, doesn't look like there was any issue. Like I remember it looking like really dingy and stuff, and now it's like doesn't even look like there was really a fire there. So weird. Like this is the place that burned down, right? Like why am I
Yeah.
seeing these pictures? Like, okay, hold on. Let me look for current photos. Oh,
And we've got churches in England with the same, you know, on the outside of the Notre Dame, they've built these things out. So there are these concrete things that come out. So obviously it was different to what they're telling us it was. But
okay.
in the Westminster Abbey has those same things. And there's loads of churches here that have those same things that stick out from the church.
So
Slightly different
those, yeah.
style,
So,
but
oh no, it's okay. I was just saying those pillars are still there, and like just looking at those, to think that they built those pillars, like the two main parts of the church that
they're
go
just
up.
lying about our history because
Oh my
they've had
God.
super advanced to build that thing.
I'm just saying, like the architecture involved in this, and then what masonry work did you have in
I've
the
been in it.
1163?
I've been in it.
Uh,
It
God,
was
it's just
amazing.
gorgeous.
You know, looking up, it was amazing.
I'm seeing the front facade of this thing, and it is amazing. I don't think I've really ever appreciated it until now. Like I saw it on fire. I was like, oh no, that's really sad. But I don't think I really understood the architecture. And when you look at it, you're just like, oh my God, this thing is amazing. Yeah. So the whole wooden structure, which is still strange to me, like how did the wood start on fire anyway? Like it's
Well, they have
so
to destroy
thick.
these things because we're working out our past slowly, so they've got to destroy them. Most
Yeah,
peers, anything that they don't want, they just destroy it.
it is bizarre. You know, there was a place, I think it was in England, and this building was made out of iron and glass, and it
At
was
Crystal
destroyed.
Palace.
Which one?
Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace. The Crystal, if you guys haven't looked into that, the Crystal Palace is one of the most amazing buildings I've ever seen. Uh, and there are pictures of it. And when you look at it, you're like, okay, that thing was made of like iron okay, and stained glass, and oh no, it was just glass. And it was this beautiful, massive building that inside I think had like an arboretum and shops and all kinds of stuff. But then one day it burned down and the whole thing was on fire. And I'm like, how does iron and glass catch fire? What burns so hot that it burns the iron? And it literally just, disintegrated. And I'm thinking, well, you could say, well, maybe one of the shops caught. Yeah, but if one of the shops caught fire, just it would be an isolated fire, and then they'd come put it out. But the whole thing was ablaze. How does the whole thing catch fire? So weird.
It's
Crystal
always as if
Palace.
they had cold fusion weapons before.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, this thing was amazing. Now, did you know, oddly enough, that I saw this online and I immediately knew that, oh my God, there is one of these buildings. They built a replica building in Dallas of the Crystal Palace. Did you know that?
No.
Yep, they sure did. And I think it's like a trade center type, office complex where people from all the world, they sell goods and whatever. Because Dallas has like a World Trade Center building, but it's next to that, and it's the and I remember seeing I looked at the design, and I just thought that was such a beautiful building when I drive by it in Dallas. It's in downtown, and when I saw the one in England, that in London, it burned down. I knew immediately. I was like, "Oh my God, that's the same building!" And sure enough, I look up the architecture and I compare the buildings, and yes, they built it to look like the Crystal Palace. And I thought, isn't that cool?
No.
Yeah.
We're
So
probably a bit
just
closer
some
to
neat.
everything than we think we are.
Oh my God, this thing was so amazing. God, we
It's
had
so
some
sad.
amazing.
I mean, it did. I
Yeah.
can't remember when it burnt down now, whether it was Victorian times or I can't remember when it was. But it's just like, why?
I think it burned down in the early, let's see,
When did it say it burnt
fire.
down?
When was the fire? Let me look at the fire. I think the fire was, I want to say the early 1900s. So the Victoria masterpiece was burned to the ground on November 29th, 11/11, by the way, uh, 1936.
Oh,
Yeah, caught fire.
yeah, I knew it was. Yeah, I didn't want to say because I thought, oh, I'll get it wrong. I felt it wasn't that long. It's not even 100 years, but we can't go back and get it now because it's gone.
Oh, it's just so sad. It's like, and I don't know. Like I said, I just have a hard time believing that the entire building caught fire and burned it because there wasn't, if I recall, I mean, there was some shops inside there and stuff like that, but I don't know. I just think that's strange that it wasn't just an isolated fire and that the whole thing just went ablaze. Like, so either it was done on purpose or it was,
Well,
it's
that's
like
what
those,
they're telling us now in the
you know,
history, isn't it? Because they probably changed the history to what they told everybody originally.
hmm yeah, when you look at it and you look at what happened, like it's all just burnt to the ground, and it's just like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Because I mean, like literally, like I said, iron and glass and this beautiful building, and it's just it shocks me sometimes when I think about that. And it's like, it reminds me of the fires in California. Some of these fires that we saw that looked very strange, and Australia was another
What,
place.
with the trees with fire on the inside?
Inside,
Yeah.
trees of fire on the inside. Where I'm seeing water with fire in it. Okay, off at the coast of Indonesia. Look that up. Have Google fire in the water, Indonesia. Strange stuff. Look up the massive quote gas explosion that happened off in the Gulf of Mexico, and look at that fire, and you'll see that like it literally looks like a vortex of hell has opened up right there. And there was another platform fire not far from it, not far, no, say not far, but time frame wise, like it happened like within the same week. So there's like all this weird stuff that happens in this world. And I mean, we just draw it up as, oh, that's just, yeah, that's, it's an arsonist or it's coincidence or whatever, but I don't think so. I think there's more going on here. And a lot of people might say, well, that sounds crazy, Dan, sure. But when you start to look at the pattern here, you see patterns and you realize, well, if there's a pattern, there has to be some intent. It's like years ago, I was looking into, you remember, I maybe told you about this, but flat earth, and I was looking at this and I remember I always knew where Devil's Tower was in Wyoming. I knew what it looked like and whatever, and I'd seen it before. And one day I came across the picture of Devil's Tower. Oh my God, I look at this picture and I'm seeing it on my screen and it just dawned on me. I was like, that was a tree. Like, why do I think that's a tree? That's a tree. It's a large tree. Why did I not see this before? I watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Why did I not see a tree? And I started thinking about what I remember, and it didn't look quite like a tree. It looked more like a big rock. But now it looks like a petrified tree. I'm just telling you. And so I was like, okay, that is weird. So I sent the picture around to everybody. I said, what is that? What does that look like to you? And they would go, oh, that looks like a tree stump, tree stump. Everybody said tree stump. So I said, okay, I'm not the only one to see this. So then I thought I wanted to make a video about it on my channel. I want to talk about this tree that I think that's strange. And because that same day after I saw the tree, I said to myself, well, let me go to the Bible. Let me go to the Bible. Maybe the Bible has something about a large tree. And then I went to the Bible and I typed in large tree in the Bible. And I got a passage. Okay. And I was like, okay, weird. So this was in the King James Version, and it was in Daniel of all the passages. Hi, I'm Daniel. And it talked about Nebuchadnezzar's dream. It talked about Nebuchadnezzar's dream. And Nebuchadnezzar told him about this dream he had of a large tree in a far off land, and it reached to the heavens and, all this other stuff. And I thought, oh my God. And then about 10 days later, this guy puts out this video called There's No Forest on Flat Earth. And I'm like, oh my God, what are the odds that I saw this thing as a tree? And this dude makes this viral video talking about how all these plateaus and that, the Devil's Tower and everything, these were all this was all plant life on Earth at one time. Like everything was much bigger, everything, including us and the trees and everything else. And it's funny because that tree is flat on its other, I call it the tree, but the Devil's Tower is flat on top as if it's been cut. And it says that, in that time period, during the days of Noah, that they defiled the trees and they cut them down and they just, destroyed the land. And they were cannibalistic and all these horrible things, the sins of man. Okay. And that's what we are taught. But then it seems like we forget. And then I thought that's why they name it Devil's Tower. You know why they name it Devil's Tower? It's to give the ooga booga to something, so that if you're a Christian and you see that and you just hear that name, like, oh my God, it's the devil. The Devil's Tower. Don't look away. Look away. Hide the women and children, Like, I'm saying, all the early stuff. And it's funny because all the Indians will tell you, yeah, that was a big ass tree. Listen to the Indians, they'll tell you the truth. But like, I'm just saying, it's funny that we name it that, like, devil. Why do we give it the name Devil's Tower? Because again, it's to hide our history in this freaking occultic satanistic world that we live in. Because I do believe that the powers of darkness are the things in control here, unfortunately, for now. Okay, that's what I'm saying, is that's what we see, and that's what they're doing. But they're revealing themselves every single day. Every time they're trying to, make a move, there's more reveal coming out, because this is the time of revelations, or the great reveal, and we're starting to see more and more of it. And I think people are starting to wake up, spiritually. I think they're starting to see it. They're having a conscious awakening to what the powers that be are trying to do in our world. We've touched on some of those, but I do believe that, people are going to finally get it. Now, it's going to come at a great cost, because people have been living in a trance, okay, for a very, very long time. And they're just not ready to accept that they've been fooled, because as it says, it's easier to fool someone than to convince them they've been fooled. Okay. So it's going to take a lot of heartache, unfortunately, for people to finally see it, but they will in the end, and they'll understand. And I think, this is why it's so great that the people who are awake and are conscious and who understand these facts are now getting the opportunity to, and this is how I think things work. And this might be, maybe more of a new agey type of ideology, but I do believe that this is why we're all so separated around the world. We're like put around in different spots. I mean, nobody is. People will say, well, the Mandela effect. You could almost label that as well. Okay, it must be a geographical thing. It's all these people right here. See, and near there's a bunch of electrical lines, and there's a bunch of lead pollution, and so these people are just crazy because they ingested lead and they got electrical lines, and you can make a case for that, but you can't when everyone's spread out around the world, sort of almost just dotted everywhere. And I think that that's what happens. God is working through people, like, spiritually. And as a spiritual antenna connected with God, you sort of resonate out, okay, to maybe in a way inflict some change on the world. Maybe that's how it's happening. Maybe that's why God is using, people like us to do his work. That's one theory I have. I'm not saying I know for sure, but it almost seems that way because everyone is so spread out. We're not in one geographical area. And so there you go. And I think that's, maybe a good thing. And that's why I do believe that this is going to come about and changes will happen because God is working through you right now. And you're getting, like I said, a front row seat to the stuff that, the prophets and the Pharisees wish they could see. Okay, I'm telling you, you're in good company. So if you're experiencing this and you feel alone, just understand that you're not. Okay, that there's so much hope, and there's a beautiful world ahead, and you're not. And let's be honest, you should know by now that you're not this physical being that you feel every day. You are something greater. You are something spiritual. You are more than this. You are one of God's creations, and God's calling you home. And that's really what this is all about, especially in this time period, while the big reveal is happening. So there's that in a nutshell.
Hey, well, that was a good
Yes.
explanation of that one, Scarab.
I'm telling you, I'm a chatty Cathy doll. You just let me go sometimes, and I'll just say some stuff. But I speak with the heart. I do try to speak with the heart, and I just
Oh,
try
I
to,
enjoy having
you
hangouts
know,
with you.
yeah. But well, I didn't know how long this was supposed to go. Now it is
Well, we've been going for an hour and 3/4. Do you want to finish in a moment?
yeah, we can, because I know that it's getting late where you're at, and it's what, about almost midnight, is that correct?
It's 20 past midnight here.
Oh my goodness, is it really? So it's 20,
You're
yeah, it's
keeping me up,
6:20.
Scarab. You're keeping me up, by so joking.
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't
Well,
mean to
I
keep you up
really
too late.
appreciate you
Yeah.
coming on because I go, Scarab, hang out. And I know you're a really busy person. I know you've got enough of your own projects, but I appreciate you coming on and having this chat with me. I like having chats with you.
Well, I enjoy the fact that I really love the fact that you reach out to me too, and give me this opportunity to speak. And every time I do this in different ways, um, each way I do it is a bit different, and that's what I really enjoy. And you have and our way of doing it is sort of unique. It's just a very cordial sort of, just sit down and just share thoughts and share ideas. And I really enjoy
It's
this
off the
platform.
cuff. Off the
Off the
cuff.
cuff, sure, definitely off the cuff. And I enjoy this platform a lot, because it's nice. It's nice to just just be able to relax and talk, and just,
Yeah,
like I
you've got
said,
one of those
share.
voices. The slower your voice gets, the slower I want to get. It's
Oh no, am I
one of
putting you to
those
sleep?
voices
Oh,
that people listen to.
can I be honest with you? This is
What's
true, and
that?
I'm not trying to be boastful at all. And I just think it's kind of funny because I didn't sound like this until 2016. So what I'm saying is, no one ever came to me and said, Dan, you you have an amazing voice. You should do radio. You should be doing something, like that. Never. Okay, I was just I was a regular guy, whatever. And then on that night, on April 11th, 2016, I realized how Mandela affected I was. Now I understood the Mandela. I kind of was like, well, that's interesting, whatever. But there was the pyramid issue, which I had already studied. I told you, with all that stuff. And when I saw that, I said, oh my God, I got to get out there and say this. That people need to know that. I mean, I was for my whole life I had a fear of public speaking. I didn't want to ever really speak out or say too much, unless I was amongst friends. I was just nervous, whatever. But I'll tell you, as soon as that happened, I was like, oh my God, I got to get online. I just instinctually knew that whatever I experienced was so profound that I felt like it would literally change the world. And I still feel this to this day. If people would remember, I still think that it's one of the most profound Mandela effects, or the most profound one uh, of all, and that is the Great Pyramid no longer being where the Great Pyramid should be. Okay, like when you move one of the seven wonders of the world, that's pretty big. Now, that's for me because I studied so much. But I'll be honest with you, I never had anybody tell me like, yeah, you need to be in radio or you need to do any of this. And it wasn't until I started talking. In fact, my first video I made with this really bad microphone, and everyone was like yelling at me, like, "Oh my God, I can't listen to your video. It sucks. Your mic keeps popping. You need to get a pop filter. I can't, it's like a lot of negativity, and it made me just want to like crawl up into a ball. I was like, oh my God, sorry. It was my first attempt, really. Okay.
Oh,
I felt really bad. And then, so it made me go out and get a decent microphone. And then as I kept speaking, like, people were like, oh my God, dude, do you realize that you have a great voice and you should do this more often? I'm like, oh, I do? Oh, I had no idea.
because you've
It's
got a
so
very
weird.
calming voice. I'm a bit more. I can be going, oh my God. I'm a bit more excitable than you sometimes.
It's weird. It's like, I almost feel like, I don't know how to explain it. Every time I say this stuff, it's like it just sounds so weird. I just never want to be I hate being like arrogant or boastful about it because I'm here to tell you I've been through enough that none of that matters to me anymore. Like none, I don't even care. But like I almost feel like, did God give me a voice in this time period for a reason? Like I wonder that sometimes. Like, is that what
We need
happened?
Scarab.
But it's like, it's like weird. I never heard it my whole life. So it's like, if you kind of know, like, oh, like, yeah, I know I can do this, you're kind of confident or whatever, but I just wasn't, so that's weird. It's like, hey, and it just became what it is. And honestly, I appreciate everything. I really do. And,
We
thank you for the
appreciate you. I
compliments
mean, you know,
and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's just me. I just don't know how
see,
to take it
like that,
sometimes.
those things with the aeroplanes. Like, not only did I get to have a friend and have hangouts with him, some of the stuff you cover, I really like it, and we're not far off, are we at all? Really on, yeah, on what we think. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's really neat, that you guys are halfway around the world practically. And, I'm sure there's a lot of your listeners over there. Is your channel growing? Does it seem to be doing
Um,
okay?
I
Or
had a lot more subs on the one they took, my other Sun and Moon group, but I keep battling away. I
why
keep
don't you,
trying.
have you thought about moving over to Odyssey?
I'm on there. It mirrors my
Oh, what?
YouTube. I accidentally
What?
pressed it, whatever it was. It mirrors
You're
my
on
YouTube channel.
Odyssey? I didn't know. See, I just recently went over there. So I just got on, like maybe, and I moved, it does your whole backup and takes all your videos and puts them.
Yeah, and
So I was
if
like, yeah,
YouTube delete anything, Odyssey don't.
yes. What is your channel on Odyssey?
The same, Sun and Moon Family United.
Son, is it one word?
No,
No,
two
no,
words.
it's Sun and Moon Family. Okay, Family United. Because I have to. I just got here, so I need subscribers. I need to subscribe to people because they give you those daily like. If you subscribe to so many people, you get like extra points or whatever. I don't even
I
know what to
don't
do with this
understand that. I
stuff.
don't really
I
understand
don't
what you can buy
either.
with that. I just You know,
Yeah.
I just thought, well, I'm not going to probably use it, but we'll just leave it mounding up. And you watch that video and you get 35 more points.
Yeah, that's what they're doing to me. Oh, there you are. Cool. All right, so here you are. I'm gonna follow. Wait
I
a minute.
wasn't expecting, though, on Odyssey to be a complete mirror image of my YouTube channel. I don't know what I was expecting, but everything seems to lead back to YouTube.
Well, don't you think that's actually nice though that it does that? Or do you think did you want it to be different?
I just thought it was going to look a bit different somehow. I don't know what I expected, but I wasn't
I think
expecting it just to look like carbon copy of YouTube. And I know it's not quite the same because can you have I don't think you can have hangouts on those platforms like BitChute and that one, whereas you can have, you know, we upload this and I can have a premiere. I don't think you can do those things on Odyssey.
so. In your profile picture, I noticed there's a little head next to yours. Is that your daughter?
I think so. Then yeah, it
Is
must
it?
be.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was just wondering if it was mom and daughter. Okay. Um,
Oh yes, that's my
so
yes. It's on this one
yeah,
as well. That's my
yeah,
daughter. Yeah.
yeah. So here it is. So I don't know what this means. I got like 416.55 of these little Bitcoin thingy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just doing this for the heck of it. Let's see.
Yeah, watch my video. You'll get another 35 or something, or I don't know
Yeah.
what they put me at. I'll probably get 6 or something off me. I don't know.
I just sent you a tip. I don't know what you can do with it. Don't spend it all in one place. I don't know what it is. It's like a Bitcoin or something. I don't know if it's Bitcoin or whatever it is, but there it is. I just sent you a tip.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, because I noticed like some people that go watch my stream over on Odyssey, they're like, oh, I can't comment in the chat because I haven't watched any videos yet. I don't have any of those. You have to have so many coins to even comment. I mean, and it doesn't take that
Really?
long. Yeah, if you're brand new to it, they don't want you just jumping on there and comment and trolling. So they want you to actually show a presence on Odyssey before like they make you work for it a little bit, and then you can comment during my live streams. Because what I've noticed is, you can you probably don't know how to do this yet, or do you use like what software do you use like when you go do you ever do a live stream anymore?
Well, no, because basically you have to have the camera pointing at you. You can't add anybody. You know, my channel's been about having hangouts with other people. So
Yeah,
that's
well,
that's what it's about, rather than me turning the camera around on myself filming. Occasionally I do. I go out with friends, I'll take video of me and them. So it does happen. But
hmm.
well
But I'm
actually no, it
asking
doesn't
you,
because I video it. But
yeah, but you
we
can go
used to
live and
do all
still,
that live stream stuff. We used to go live.
yeah, you can still do it. You just have to download what is it, the duck. You have to
I
download
know what you mean. I
StreamYard.
know
StreamYard.
StreamYard, yeah.
Yeah.
We do it this way because this way it's recorded, and then the next day they'll watch it, and you could turn up and be in the chat room, and then the video's playing, and you can be with the chat room. I don't know. There's pluses and minuses, but we used to
Yeah.
go live every day.
Well, I think the live streams are great for people. I think you should do that some more. And I was going to say, if you get on StreamYards, I don't know if the free version, there's a free and there's a paid, but like the free version, I don't know if it allows you to simulcast, but I'm able to simulcast from YouTube and I can do it directly to Odyssey. And what I've decided to do is if I start the show and I'm talking about the normal, everyday fare, then that's fine. YouTube's okay with that. But if I start to mention, certain other more controversial topics, I shut the stream off. I can shut the stream off right there in StreamYards of YouTube and go and tell everybody, go to Odyssey. If you want to hear more, you want to hear the more, pertinent details, then go over there. And that way I don't get any censorship or any issues with them wanting to take my channel away. You got to be sneaky.
Yeah,
Sneaky,
that's why I put
sneaky.
myself on BitChute and I
Uh,
signed up to Odyssey. But when it said, "Did you want to have to mirror your YouTube channel?" and I pressed it, and I thought, "Oh my God, that says that." I realised what I'd done, but I'd already pressed the button. And then the BitChute
oh,
one, I find BitChute quite frustrating because it's really hard to upload sometimes on there.
man, I hope that it's not like it comes out and it's like, well, you know, you were going to go to heaven, but you decide to lock yourself into the matrix by signing up for Odyssey. So You get
But
to
it's
do
good
another
to put
round.
yourself out on other channels, isn't it? It's good to put yourself
That's
out
good.
on these platforms.
Well, I
We don't
had
want
to.
YouTube to have everything.
Well, I think if people, number one, it's any real truth on YouTube is like few and far between. You can't say anything. And I already got a strike for medical misinformation, kind of stuff,
Well,
which
I had
wasn't,
two like that,
yeah,
Scarab, and basically you get another one, you lose your channel. And I had 3 months of thinking, will the channel be there tomorrow? Will the channel be there tomorrow? It's horrible. I found it
sure.
quite stressful.
It is quite stressful because you put all that work into YouTube and I'm monetized. I'm one of those guys who, try to make, a little bit of money or whatever on YouTube. And so, when you get your channel shut down, well, you can't, the only thing you're making money on is your old videos and stuff. They won't let you even upload a video, or anything. So it
Well,
was,
one strike is
mm,
1 week, two strikes is 2 weeks.
yeah, well, what's weird is last year during pandemic time, yours truly got a strike and I was shut down for 3 months right at the time of the pandemic.
Really?
Yeah, they shut me down for 3 months and I was like, over what? And I've told people this before. It was like the stupidest thing. They found a video that was a year old and this company, some company, and they're out of Jerusalem. I kid you not. They they struck my channel and they said that I had their content. And I went back and they didn't even give me usually they tell you where it's at. They're like, here at this certain time period, there was this, and this is the infraction. There was no time. And so I had to go through the whole 2-3 hour video and I looked at it and I found where this company. And this company came up because my buddy who was on the show shared his screen, a YouTube video, Now remember, it's a YouTube video. Number one, it's a YouTube ad. I monetized, and this ad only popped up on the screen. It was a splash screen. It never played. He clicked, to go away from it. It literally lasted 3 seconds on air, and that was enough to get me 3 months. Now I call BS. It's almost like
You
there
know what
was
that's about? They
something
just needed an excuse so that you weren't talking for a while.
in that weird, like right there at the time of that. Yeah, I thought that was really strange. So I had to go to my backup channel and I just kept thinking, boy, I really feel like I'm being targeted right here. Like something
I
seems
think we
really,
all did, Scarab. We didn't really do
yeah,
nothing.
something
What
seems off.
another level of horribleness.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, this has been a great conversation and we should do it again real soon. I mean, let's not wait. Yeah, let's do it
Good.
again, and we'll do it again real soon. And maybe I don't know, maybe we can put it on a more of a streaming format, or maybe we just do it again like we did, and then
So that'll be again, yeah, on the streaming bit. Yeah, that would
oh
be
yeah, yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was saying like maybe we cut in and do a live stream, or we could even perhaps do the same type of format, but we should get together sooner because I think there's so much going on. I think it's important to kind of stay connected and
I don't
do
mind being
another.
connected to you, Scarab.
Oh, well, you're just such a kind, sweet soul now, aren't you? Oh, well, you're a sweetheart. Well, I'll tell you what, I always enjoy my time with you, and I enjoy having
Oh,
a moment to just hang out and find out how you're doing. So, yeah, anytime you would like to get together and talk, I'm all ears.
oh, thank you, my darling. Well, if we finish this hangout now, but we'll say goodbye after I've turned it off because I hate people. I press the button and they've gone. I don't like that. I like to say goodbye everybody on air and then we say goodbye off air because there
Okay,
we right. So
sounds good.
I very much appreciate your time. You've talked about lots of amazing stuff that, yeah, I'd say I understood most of what you said, like all of it fits in my life and how I've seen things. And I very much appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on this hangout, Scarab.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it was a pleasure. And mwah to you and mwah to the chat room. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.